We are Gathering of the Geeks, podcast and YouTube show built around the things we as geeks all love. Hashtag We Gather on Sundays. Thank you for checking out the one with some Game Awards talk. I'm one of your hosts, Emmet, and I'm joined by the Ted Lasso and my coach Beard, Chris Evans. Chris, how's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, doing well. Gathering of the Geeks is available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. Just search Gathering of the Geeks, and you will find us. What's up to Cookie Grabs, Ballyrock, Eric, and DC Patrol in the comments. How's everyone doing on this fine Sunday evening? Chris, how was your week, man? What'd you get up to?
It's not too bad. It's been busy. I can't complain.
Busy's good.
How about you?
Busy's good.
Yeah, busy is good.
Yeah.
I like busy. They say idle hands are the devil's plaything or some shit like that.
Yeah, it's weird how stressful busy is, but then not doing anything is also stressful. And at least when you're busy and stressful, time passes a lot quicker.
Yeah, I feel weirder when I'm not busy. It's abnormal to me. So it's okay.
So we're going to be talking a little bit about the Game Awards that we watched this past Thursday. We're going to talk a little bit about Pinocchio on Netflix, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, and some other stuff that we'll, as we usually do, just kind of get on about. So, Chris, what'd you get up to this week, man? What'd you read? What'd you watch?
As far as the reading, I actually just read something about an hour ago that I really liked. Did you happen to read the book? It's called Teenage Wasteland, I believe.
I did.
Okay. I don't remember who wrote it or who drew it, but it is a great book.
Let me catch up on that.
It's some quality folks,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't pay attention to who wrote it and drew it, but it was good.
Mm-hmm.
Did you like it?
What got you interested in that one, actually?
I kept saying, I see people tweet about it. It's like, hey, the cover looks cool. I like the title. I like the song. It's only Teenage Wasteland. I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, it's funny about the name of the book. Because obviously everyone thinks that's the name of the Who song.
It's not.
I know. It's kind of a funny thing. I'm like, I was waiting for like some sort of Bob O'Reilly tease or something in the book. I thought that would have been fun.
I was kind of waiting for it too. But now that we're talking about, I actually don't remember the actual name of the song.
Yeah, Bob O'Reilly. Yeah.
Okay. It's a good song.
So the book was written by Kurt Piers, and the artist was Jacoby Salcedo, who I've never heard of. So this was when I read it. I didn't even look at the writers or anything. I just kind of assumed it was somebody that I hadn't heard of. So I enjoyed it, but I'm on the opposite side of you when reading things. I kind of like to know a little bit about what's going on, so I'll do a little bit of research, not just go off of the cover. Or I like something, so I went into this having no idea. I'm like, okay, what's happening here? I'm like, okay, it's kind of like a teen drama kind of deal. It deals with like puberty and that kind of stuff growing up, and then all of a sudden by the end of the issue it's like, oh, it's a sci-fi book all of a sudden. So I kind of got to get my head in a different space when I reread it again, or when I read issue 2. I did like where it went though, from the small beginnings, I guess, at the start to a much bigger world by the end of it.
At the start of it, I assumed it was something like Kick-Ass. That's what I was thinking. This is like Kick-Ass. And then it's not, which was fine because I was enjoying what it was. And then the ending kind of blindsides you, which is maybe some foreshadowing there, but not intentional. It just came out. But the ending is really cool. And I got it reminds me of Rain, which, was really big for me this year. I really liked it, that aspect of it. And just the characters are interesting. And I've never heard the artist either, but I really like the art too. So if he's a fan of the book as well.
Well, she's a cultured person, so she gets it. She gets that kind of stuff.
Are we all cultured people?
I'm not cultured at all.
Oh.
She's cultured. She understands what good is, and high level stuff. That's all her.
I want to be cultured.
I want to be cultured.
I don't know what that's like. Grabs read Lemire's Robin and Batman this morning. That was me. Ooh. Didn't you read that too?
Oh, it's a beautiful thing.
I have it. I will read it. Eric read Batman and Poison Ivy. I didn't know Poison Ivy was this week. I did read Batman. We'll get to that in a moment.
Yes, let's get to Batman in a moment.
Poison Ivy continues to remain an awesome book. I've heard that from the other issues.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Rain meets Superbad. That is a perfect way to describe it.
Whoa, that sounds awesome. See, that's the kind of headspace I need to be in.
Even if you take into account the way it starts with the robbery, that's a great way to say it.
Yeah.
I'm cultured like yogurt.
See, that's what I'm about too, Grabs. That's me too.
Yeah, cultured like yogurt. That works. Grabs has got to be up at 2:30 in the morning all this week. That's a grueling schedule.
Holy buggers! It's
more time to read Lemire books.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, It's Only Teenage Wasteland is going to be something I will continue to pick up. It's a limited series. There's only 4 of them.
And that was from a couple weeks ago too, right? That wasn't this week, I don't think.
No, it was this week.
Was it? Okay.
Mm-hmm. It was this week. I liked it a lot. I will definitely be in 4 more. And especially, I like that it's limited. So again, like Rain, we know that it's going to be contained into this piece, and so that's pretty cool. I'm just hoping it doesn't make my eyes rain. That's all. Because Rain was pretty sad. I also read Batman 130. Is it?
Yep.
And that was interesting. Oh, Valerie, did you read X-Men, Immortal X-Men this week? Yes, I did. I also want to talk about that. It was a big Sinister issue. Good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But Batman 130 is a interesting book because the Chip Zdarsky run, I believe, has been a disappointment for a lot of people. And I wonder if that's because the expectations going into it were so high because people love his Daredevil. Like, they consider his Daredevil the Daredevil to read, from what I understand. So I think, going into this, people expected, oh, well, he's going to do what Snyder did or what Tom King did to some people, but it's different.
Different is correct, and this issue feels very different. It feels different than the previous 5 that came before this one. I don't know what it is about this issue. Maybe it's also the ending of the last issue of 129. I was like, what is happening here? Where I don't know. It's last month. I'm terrible. I'm being really bad with spoilers lately, and now Chris has caught me off guard where I don't want to say anything ever.
Spoiler watch.
But 129, where Batman's falling from space, and I'm like, okay, what's happening here? Like, it went from obviously he got to up into space, but before like there was something very grounded about this book that started it off for me, and then by the middle or the 3/4 of the way through it, I'm like, okay, Batman's falling from space with a little mask on, and his suit apparently is good in space now. So that kind of just weirded me out. And then getting into 130 with how it ended, which I think it ended very abruptly. And then obviously we're getting into some kind of weird change for 131, where Jimenez is no longer on the art, and there's more Batman Bruce Wayne changes. So I agree about the expectation thing, and it's weird how, when we talk about this all the time, Chris, about people and takes, everyone has to have a take.
Yes.
No one's just telling stories anymore. And we talked about, I think it was last week when we were talking about it, when we were talking about Rom V and Chip. Both of them are putting their take on the character, not putting the character first. And this is also what Tynion did with his run with Joker War and everything too. He more or less put his kind of stamp on the character and didn't put Bruce Wayne Batman first. He put the surrounding characters above that one. So I'm going to keep reading it, but it's really interesting how, Chip Zdarsky, one of the best writers in comics, and how different they feel when they get certain characters. And we feel that way about Tynion as well. Good writer outside of Batman, but you give him a certain character and they somehow it just doesn't click in for some reason. I don't know why that is.
I think some of it is like, I get the toys, I get the keys to the kingdom. I've always wanted to write this character. I'm going to do everything. I think that's what it becomes. That's the issue. It's like it's what happens when you give a fan the opportunity to do something. Sometimes it turns out great. Sometimes it turns out,
not so great.
Sometimes you get the Blood Rain movie from Uwe Boll.
Nice pull there.
Yeah, it just works that way sometimes. Or you get Sharkula.
Oh yeah, did you? You graced my my DMs with that earlier today.
I
Thank
also
you for
graced
that.
everyone's timelines with it too.
Oh, that very good.
I'm gonna watch it later. It's gonna be great.
It's right up your alley. I
It
can just
is.
see you having a great time with it.
I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, Batman is it's a good book, but I'm with you. It's a weird one,
Mm-hmm.
and I said this on Twitter, and I still stand by it. I've seen a lot of pushback from people who disagree
Mm-hmm.
or think that it's it's a comic book. It is what it is, and I agree. It is a comic book, but it just the way that it's framed is odd because Zdarsky's run isn't inherently campy or really lighthearted.
Yeah.
So Batman free falling, he doesn't
Right.
have anything from
Mm-hmm.
space, and
Mm-hmm.
then literally, this is not a spoiler. We know he survives. He
Right.
hits the ground and keeps walking. It's
Yeah.
weird. And
Mm-hmm.
it's very Adam West, and then the book finishes in a very Grant Morrison kind of way. So there's two tones fighting each other here, but
Mm-hmm.
the middle of it is fantastic. I think, like when
Of
Batman actually
130.
comes back to
Yeah.
Earth. Yeah, when he
Yeah.
comes back to Earth after falling, and that stuff is great, and the failsafe stuff is good. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just a weird one. I also read the latest Immortal X-Men because I'm back on that, as we've talked about.
You're back on that.
Back on that, and what an issue! It's
Oh
really,
yeah.
yeah, it's really fun. So when one of my critiques of the Krakoan era of X-Men has always been, how are all the heroes so friendly with all these gigantic villains who were
Right.
trying to murder them consistently, maybe a month before this,
Consistently.
consistently trying to murder them. But now the cracks are trying to form in Krakoa, and one of those cracks is people are saying Mr. Sinister is still a villain.
Mm.
And you get to see him do a lot of fun stuff in this issue. But the other part of that is if you're not familiar with the Krakoan era, you are completely lost.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a very fun issue. So if you guys are reading X-Men at all or are familiar with what's going on in Krakoa, I highly recommend Immortal X-Men right now. It's fun.
What
It's got
what
some-
is,
this was
what
8, I believe. This was 8.
and so is if it's 1 through 6, is that an arc, and then this is the more or less the start of the
7
second
and
arc?
7 and
Or is it
8
all-
seem 7 and 8 seem to be starting the next arc to get ready for Sins of Sinister, which is coming.
Oh, that's the big Marvel thing coming up.
The
in
big
January, or
I think it does start in January. It is a very bloody issue. It's wild.
oh, nice.
Before we move on from that, again, read it because it's got Sinister. It's cool. But Grabs mentioned Many Deaths of Layla Starr, which I know you and I both love.
Yeah, hardcover coming out soon.
Yeah, that was one of my favorites of last year. Maybe my favorite.
Yeah.
I love that book. But also, he mentions Blue and Green. I need to read this book, and I have it. It's sitting on my hard drive.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Did you read that yet?
I tried to. Obviously, Rom V. The art is very. I don't know how to describe it. Not coherent is the nicest way I can try and say it. It's just a little bit all over the place, and
that doesn't sound good.
Yeah, well, if you're thinking about a standard comic book, that's and if you picture what that looks like in your head, that's not what this book is, and that's fine. It has nothing to do. It's more or less more to do with personal preference. I can't remember how far I got in it. I just didn't get it back around to it though.
Fair enough. I also want to listen to the Travis and Zeddy show about Batman Beyond. That's gonna be a fun one. If you guys want, throw a link in the chat, and we'll go ahead and put it up there.
Yeah, Travis, do that, please.
Because off the top of my head, I do not have the link, and I can't multitask that well.
Yeah, and now we'll have it too. So
yeah,
it's for us.
It's really for us. I didn't like Blue and Green. Yes, Emmett, my thoughts exactly.
There you go.
I've heard it's great though.
I have too.
I am concerned about the art now that you mention it, though.
Sorry.
That's okay. You know me though. Like bad art will take me out of the story.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I haven't read Stephanie Phillips' Harley Quinn. I can't. I don't like it.
Can't get past it.
No. But yeah, that concludes my reading for the week. It was a good time. Good week.
Yeah, I was looking forward to this week. Last week when we were talking about the books, how there wasn't so many last week. You still haven't read Batman and the Joker: The Deadly Duo, eh?
I forgot.
You got to get to that. Number 2 issue, the second issue came out this week. It's again very good. I didn't get to Bloodstained Teeth 7
I
this
didn't
week,
either.
but I want to get to that. All Against All came out this week from Alex Pack Nadell and Casper Wingard. It's a very much I wrote a review for it for the GWW, which you can check out in my Twitter profile. It's very sophisticated sci-fi, almost at times too sophisticated, but it's very good. I love Casper's art, which I actually sent you some of his Batman drawings that he was doing last week, kind of like Skull Candy or just Skull Batman. I don't know how to describe it, but it's like it's Kilmer, it's
Skeletor meets
Clooney.
Batman.
Yeah, that's right. He did all the Batmans, but there has the kind of like a what do you call it, a profile shot of their head, but they're skeletons. Very cool. I'm a big fan of Casper Wingard's art. I'm going to keep reading on this one. It's also I think it's only limited. I think it's only 4 or 5 issues. So if you're into science fiction and smart science fiction, not just explosions, which is kind of cool too sometimes.
I like explosions.
I get it. It's a give and take on both. I get it. What was the other thing that I read this week that I wanted to mention? Oh, Do a Powerbomb number 7, the ending of Do a Powerbomb.
Yeah. How was that?
You know, I gotta get. I never get the name right. I'm pretty sure it's Daniel Warren Johnson, not Philip Kennedy Johnson.
Yes. Yeah, Philip Kennedy Johnson.
Daniel Warren Johnson. Yeah, thank you. Daniel Warren Johnson does the sometimes the most metal things. Obviously, the Murder Falcon, Jurassic League. He does things where if you were to describe them to someone, should not work. It just doesn't make any sense. Literally, a falcon who plays music, and that Murder Falcon, he plays music and it creates monsters to fight other monsters. Jurassic League, it's the Justice League, but they're dinosaurs. Do a Powerbomb, a wrestling comic book about a daughter trying to bring her mother back to life via a wrestling competition, a wrestling tournament in hell with a necromancer. It shouldn't work. It's just ridiculous. But like Lauren is saying here, the emotion that Daniel Warren Johnson's blends into some of the most metal, some of the most hardcore, plot devices, storylines, it's unmatched. I've never read a comic book from Daniel Warren Johnson where at the start I'm like, this is just weird and crazy, and then by the end of it I'm literally have tears in my eyes because it's emotional, because it's just so well written. He's a one of a kind writer. I think he's also a one of a kind artist, which I know you're not the biggest fan of his art, but there's something about there's something about Daniel Warren Johnson in his comic books where he writes comics that shouldn't work, but by the end of them they're literally masterpiece work. Like we're doing our top 5 comic book list, and I'm struggling very hard with where this is going to be in my list, either 1 or 2. The comic is so freaking good. It ends amazingly. I can't speak more highly enough than Do a Powerbomb.
It would be number 2 behind Twig, right?
I'm scared. You have no idea about this. Every day that I think about my list, I'm like, oh God, Chris is just going to kill me. She's just going to yell at me this whole show because of Twig, and I'm so worried about it.
I'm not. I'm not. But it was, internally, I might be screaming.
Yeah, that's right.
Not
the internal scream.
Not outward. We're cool. I should read. I really liked that first issue of Do a Powerbomb. I really did. But it's one of those books that just kind of got away from me. Plus, the art is a thing for me.
It's a turnoff for your aspect of it. I get that for sure.
But I'll try it because I've heard
you should.
Also, I believe it's being asked for. So
I like. What about the next one? What about the next one?
We're not looking at that. We're not looking at it.
So yeah, do a power bomb number 7. It's over. I'm upset about that. It's also weird, like we were talking about limited series. It's so strange to start a comic book in the middle of the year and then be done by the end of the year. It's kind of we were just talking about it with Teenage Wasteland. It's a relief to be like, oh, good, that ended. That was good. That was great. Let's move on to something else. It's not like, oh, there's another 6 issues to go.
I just like the contained stories,
Yeah.
Because when we read the superhero comics and whatnot, it's never really a contained story. It's always, it just keeps going and going and going. Now, an arc may end, but it just keeps, it still goes, and it might have fragments of whatever happened before. Whereas these, it's a clean slate every time.
Yep.
So
I like that. Yeah, I agree, and that relates to another thing that I read this week, which Little Monsters 8. And just the same thing. Like the sixth issue ended, the arc ended. They took a break. I'm like, oh, that was good. Like, oh, now there's more. It's just like sometimes you do want things just to end. And there's nothing wrong with the Little Monsters 7 and 8. They're still very good, but there's just a feeling about reading a comic book when you're trying to read other things. Like we talk often, like, oh, I didn't get around back to it. I read something else at the time. It's just like, oh, sometimes ending things is okay. And they're doing Lemire and Sorrentino are doing this with their Bone Orchard mythos, where they're telling stories via graphic novels and then single issues. Like what's happening now is 1,000 Black Feathers. Once that ends, they're going to go on to something else. So it's just a relief that when things can end. I like when things can end,
especially when the ending is earned, I suppose is the word I would use.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Because I think sometimes we get these books and the endings are so abrupt, and you're kind of like, well, this probably could have used another issue.
Right.
Like, as much as I love Rain, I do think the final issue was a lot.
Yeah.
But that's just a personal thing. No grabs. Hashtag
He's
Twig not
I was surprised you even put it up there, Chris.
Well, because more Twig is coming. It says in the back of the book, so no, we're not done.
Yeah. I was wondering about that because Scotty Young just did I Hate Fairyland. I'm like, oh no, is Twig on the back burner because he's doing I Hate Fairyland now?
No, I think he just does like one thing at a time. So Twig is probably a couple years off, if I had to guess. But
well, that's what I wonder. I wonder if the start of the book, if they expected there to be more stories, and then it was just such a hit. They're like, oh, why don't you write some more? I'm like, oh, okay, I can do some more.
We're waiting.
And that's why I can take so long. There you go. Cookie's all about it.
Yeah, there we go. Cultured, as you say.
Yeah, she gets it. Grabs isn't cultured. He's too much like yogurt.
He's like the one Jamie Lee Curtis eats for fiber. She has those commercials.
I haven't seen those commercials.
I don't think he has them anymore, but that's irrelevant.
Okay. Let's move on. So that's all I read for new comics this week. But I all this talk about the DC universe and James Gunn and the teases of Kingdom Come and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, and we were talking about it in our DM with Zeddy and Nico, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, a week ago, where you guys were talking about it, how like the rumor at the time was, oh, is James Gunn gonna, start leading into Kingdom Come in some way? And you guys were like, whoa, you can't do that as the first story. Like that just won't work. And I had no idea what you guys were talking about the characters and the characterization of like Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, that kind of thing. So I did that. I read that, it was again, what we were just talking about, 4 issues. Great. They're kind of extended issues a little bit. I think all 4 issues in the collection that I read was, I don't know, 200 pages or 175 pages or something like that. Just something about that story in the shortness of it, the length of the story as well, really grabbed me. It's an outstanding read for anyone who is obviously a fan of superheroes, but even not a fan of superheroes. I think it really works, specifically the way the story is told via the Spectre and another gentleman. How the story is told is very, very, it works very well. But as a first story to read, or I want to read a Justice League story, I haven't read one before, it doesn't work like that. because you have to know these characters and that kind of thing. We were talking, and this is kind of jumping ahead a little bit with you, Zeddy, and I were watching the Game Awards, and we were talking about Kevin Conroy a little bit and his work on the Crisis event for the CW, and that whatever that suit he's wearing or whatever the exoskeleton. That's what Bruce wears in Kingdom Come.
Mm-hmm.
Exact same kind of thing. So it made me laugh because we had a good laugh about that death on Thursday, and then seeing it in action on the page was quite interesting.
And much better, I would assume.
Yeah. It was funny because we watched that clip with no sound on. I think that might have made it better.
I narrated it though. So just to fill everybody in, on Thursday, we Emmet, Zeddy, and I watched the Video Game Awards together through StreamYard, and we got to talking afterward. And if anybody is familiar with, it was a Batwoman episode during the CW Crisis event. They stuck Kevin Conroy as Bruce Wayne, and they put him in this exoskeleton kind of suit, not a bat suit, but just like an exoskeleton thing. And he has the most ridiculous death possible. He just gets pushed onto a computer and becomes electrocuted. It's ridiculous. Look it up if you feel like it. It's a good time. We might even tweet it afterward just for kicks.
Just for kicks, yeah.
Just for kicks. Shits and giggles. That's what we're about. But anyway.
So that's all I read this week.
I was going to say, though,
Kingdom Come. You haven't read it, I think, but you kind of know about the story.
Yeah, I know the clip notes and stuff. And I know Mark Waid, of course, is a certain kind of writer, I would say. His style lends itself to pretty much any character. Mm-hmm. There's always like a lightness to it, I think. Mm-hmm. There's always some kind of levity there, but he's good.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It was very weird. Crash on Trail was not a good crossover. Some things good about it, but overall not great. It was okay. But the Conroy thing is the only thing I remember about the event.
It's just so memorable.
It unfortunately is.
So that's all we read this week. Chris, did you get to watch anything?
I did. So the quick one I want to mention is Deadpool 2. I haven't watched it since theaters, which I forgot when this movie came. I think it was 2018. So it'd been a while. I even forgot that like Terry Crews is in it, Bill Skarsgård. Completely forgot about that.
That's right. Yeah, the team.
Yeah, the X-Force team. I remember there was X-Force, but I didn't remember who was playing who.
Right.
So that was cool. Also, I did not remember Black Tom Cassidy has appeared in a movie before Mr. Sinister, before a lot of X-Men characters.
Does that hurt you? Does that hurt you, Chris?
It's just weird because he's such an obscure character who I think only became popular during the Krakoan era. And even then, I don't think he's even popular. I don't know anybody who likes Black Tom Cassidy.
Never heard of him before. So there you go.
So there you go. But I really enjoy Deadpool 2. I like it more than the first one. I think it has a better story. The action's better. And I just love Ryan Reynolds in that suit. Or even out of it. Now, on Disney Plus, though, fun fact, it is censored, which I didn't know until I was watching it.
In what way? Just the voice? Like
well,
the audio,
no.
Or?
Do you remember the joke when Deadpool gets pulled apart, of course, by Juggernaut? Yeah. And he's sitting on his couch afterward, and he's just full frontal. Right. Okay, that's censored.
Okay.
You don't
blurred out?
No, it looks weird. Like the T-shirt is extended.
Oh, okay.
And you could tell that was not there before. It's really weird looking.
Yeah.
But probably less weird than what it was before, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
I actually did not mind them taking that out. So that was missing, which, again, not a problem. I don't care. And there was something else. It was a very minor detail. And it was, I read it, it was more about something to do with the diabetes joke, which I don't even remember there being a diabetes joke. I don't know. But anyway, fun fact. So now I'm going to watch Logan and see if that's censored, because if that's censored, I don't know what I'll do.
It wasn't when I watched it.
Well, you guys have it on a different thing.
Right? Oh, right. Yeah, we got on that Star thing, the adult version of, all the Fox stuff. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, so here it's just on Disney Plus. So if it's censored, I completely get it. It's just kind of like, well, why'd you even put it on here?
Right.
Why isn't there an amazing Domino series? I'll never understand. Hot Shots was terrible. What is Hot Shots? Not the Charlie Sheen movie.
I was going to say, don't say that's terrible.
I was going to say, no, that's not. That's a good time.
That's the thing of beauty.
Yeah, I like that one. But yeah, Deadpool 2 was fun. And I'm very excited for Deadpool 3.
I'm not a fan of Deadpool 2, but I'm with Grabs on this one. The character of Domino and that scene where I think it's just after the team all dies, and she kind of just going about her thing, and
Yeah, that was fun.
I think driving the car and all the luck stuff that's in there. I thought that was very good. I like Zazie Beetz as well as the character, so I like the Domino stuff for sure.
Yeah, I remembered not really liking Zazie Beetz as Domino, or not that I didn't like the character. It doesn't feel like Domino to me, and it still doesn't. But she is entertaining in the movie, so I guess my opinion hasn't changed. Her version of Domino is fine; it's entertaining, but it's not the Domino that I know. But it's cool.
Gotcha.
I'm not going to scream off the rooftops or anything.
Don't do that.
Although I can scream that they were at the Essex Home for Boys and no Nathaniel.
Yeah, no Nathaniel.
But Black Tom Cassidy.
It's so crazy how close there was to being a Mr. Sinister.
More than once.
Universe. Like, holy cow. Like, on the precipice. Like, one film away, one scene away. And it's just, there could have been. It's just so crazy.
It is. Maybe we'll get him one day, I'm sure.
Yeah, you and Zeddy are going to be waiting for him for Terry McGinnis and you for Nathaniel.
I'll probably be waiting longer at this point.
Yeah.
That's okay. I like whatever they put out X-Men. I'm happy.
That's true.
But I watched that last night. That was fun as usual, or as it was before, I guess. But then I watched Pinocchio the other night. Now you watched this too. We talked about it a little bit, but I didn't get your full thoughts on it. I think I love this movie. This version is so good, and it's different than the regular like Disney animated one. And I've heard people say it's like traumatizing, the original animated one, which I don't remember that being traumatizing.
I was going to preface this to say too, and as I was watching the new one, I don't remember the original Pinocchio at all. I remember, a boy being brought to life, or the doll the puppet being brought to life. That's it. I barely remember the story or what happens in that movie. So,
yeah, I just remember the same thing. The puppet comes to life. I remember there was a fox. Kids turn to donkeys.
There's a cat.
That's it.
No, yeah, I got nothing for you.
Yeah, there was a cat, and I guess at the end he became a real boy, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's what I don't even know. Did he become that real boy?
I think he does. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he does. Of course, there's no strings on him or whatever.
Right.
But this was pretty different. It was very interesting to watch because of that. It's also so dark. Like I was not expecting it. It opens dark.
Yeah, and it's like a Pixar movie.
Yeah, I suppose it's closer to the original story of Pinocchio.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because every fairy tale is like dark in some way. I was reading a fun fact about it. In the original story, Pinocchio kills Jiminy Cricket. He smashes him with a hammer because he got annoyed by him.
Oh.
Yeah. So Pinocchio, this version does not, spoiler alert, and Ewan McGregor is so good as the cricket, who is named
Sebastian.
He's Sebastian J. Cricket in this, which
I
don't know. But Ewan McGregor is fantastic in it. And really all the voice cast is, but the animation is so cool for this movie, especially toward the end with the whale stuff or whatever the hell that thing is.
Yeah, that's no whale. That's no whale.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But it was really cool. I like Pinocchio a lot. It's just so dark and so sad. So sad.
So sad and so different. And, I have a couple thoughts about it, but I don't know if I need to see Pinocchio dancing around with fascists.
That was a weird thing, too.
It's very different, and it's telling a certain story. And this is kind of my thought about all the stuff that's in or certain stuff that's in the public domain now. About the stupid bullshit with the Winnie the Pooh.
I'm waiting for that. It's gonna be great.
I'm sure you are. It's just something about these characters, like Winnie the Pooh. Like I watched Winnie the Pooh in Christmas too. I'm like, oh, that's great. And I just thinking, all of a sudden he's killing people. So I agree about it being good. The voice acting is very good. I think it's Christoph Waltz is what's his name, Belpo. Very good.
Or something.
Volpe or something. The little boy is very good as Pinocchio. I don't know the actor's name, but he plays Walder Frey in Game of Thrones. He's Geppetto. It's very good, very good
Is that the same
voice.
guy from Harry Potter that has the
Yeah,
cat?
it's Filch. Yeah,
Okay.
Filch. Yeah, very good. And I agree about the animation. The stop motion animation is outstanding. Some of the best we've ever seen. But it's not just the stop motion part of it; it's the coloring that I really
Yeah.
love, and the lighting, the movements are outstanding. All that kind of stuff. I wasn't expecting songs
I wasn't
in
either.
this version at all. So there was just a bunch of things I'm not expecting. The Mussolini stuff is kind of funny. They got him in this nice big car. He's just a little short guy.
Kind of, yeah.
They're kind of making fun of Mussolini a little bit, but again, seeing so much, Heil Hitler stuff and goose stepping and it's just, oh, that's where we're going with this story. It's just, when you think of Pinocchio and it's called Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, obviously for a huge reason. I agree about everything that you're saying. It's good. It's very good. I really liked it, but it's just something about it. It's something. I don't know. I'm reading about this online, and our friend Nico was watching Andor. Great show. It's very, very good. But when you get down to it, is this a Star Wars show? Is it have that Star Wars feeling? And I more or less, when I'm watching a Disney something, Pinocchio, I'm looking for that something. So I get it. It's just it's almost a movie that as much as is traumatizing or is sad by the end of it, you do need to watch it again. I think there's more to find. There is. I think there's going to be something to find in this movie after a while.
Well, I'm gonna need, like I said on Twitter, I need an emotional cleanser before I go back to it because it is.
Agreed. I agree with that 100%.
And I'm kind of, now that Cookie mentioned it, I'm kind of glad I did not have the donkey thing because I don't even know how that would have worked in this context with the way this story runs. Because I guess it hits the beats of the Disney version, but it's still its own thing. And
I don't remember the donkey. So
it's funny because, like you mentioned, it's Del Toro's, but I don't think you go into it thinking it's this. You know what I mean?
I didn't at
And
all.
I'm not making it. It's not like you're not watching like Hellraiser or something, but it's not happy. It's not a family fun movie.
Well, and it tries to be a little bit like, Jiminy is it's funny. It's like, the pain, or he's always complaining about being hurt.
He's funny.
And he's getting beaten up all the time, and he's getting trapped by Pinocchio in the glass with the hammer on the top, which is also kind of funny. You mentioned the hammer, and he kind of pushes the glass. Yeah, he pushes the glass and he falls over. So they trying to blend the humor in, and I actually don't think it worked that well.
Really?
Them trying to install the humor into it. It almost felt like they knew by the end of the story what it was going to be. So let's try and get some more lighthearted moments in mixed in a little bit. But like I said, I didn't expect there to be songs. I thought the songs were very good, specifically the one where Pinocchio had just left again, and Geppetto and Jiminy are kind of traveling and going after him, and Pinocchio singing "Goodbye, Papa" or "Ciao, Papa." I thought that song was very good.
Yeah.
Very good song. So the musical notes I really liked, and I just wasn't expecting it. I'm like, okay, this is not going to be the Disney I'm expecting from this movie, which is the musical numbers. So I really like that part.
So yeah, are we chipping into Chris wooden clogs for Christmas? I don't know where it came from that I would like clogs, but I'm not denying it.
Yeah. Just something about Geppetto, making those clogs. I'm like, you know what, Chris? I just tweeted out, I bet you Chris likes clogs. I don't know why.
They kind of seem like, yeah. I mean, I would be again. I'd try them. They look kind of neat. Zeddy says, I thought GDT's Pinocchio was solid, but having seen the story multiple times already, scaled it back for me. You're really only watching for the stop motion animation. I can see that because I was talking to another friend of ours, Juan, and he also said something like that. It's just Pinocchio, and the stop motion is the reason to see it. So I get it. But I guess for me, I've only seen the old Disney one when I was a kid.
Yes.
And I remember there was a live action. I know it wasn't with Tim Allen, but for some reason I think it was. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Yes. I'm going to look it up here.
I remember there being a Pinocchio. So those are the only two versions I've seen, and they were both when I was a kid. So let's say this is the first time in 20-ish years I have seen a Pinocchio story. So for me, it works.
So
There's
yeah,
some lost
you didn't see the one with Tom Hanks, right? Obviously.
No, I kind of avoided it. They'd
So
go
there's
great
one
with
the
final pants. You know what? They probably would. We can make them shiny too. Maybe I do want clogs.
So there's the Adventures of Pinocchio from '96. Had Jonathan Taylor Thomas as
That's the
Pinocchio,
one.
Martin Landau as Geppetto,
I saw
Rob
that.
Schneider as the fox.
I think I saw it. I remember Jonathan Taylor Thomas. I guess that's where I get the Tim Allen connection.
Yeah, that's it's all 6 degrees of separation here.
Yeah, there was a Tom Hanks one that came out this year.
Yeah, like 3 months ago.
It completely went under the radar. I don't know anybody who liked it.
Yeah, that Disney Plus thing. And we're talking about, and Zeddy's talking about, seeing the story multiple times over. I'm speaking for myself who hasn't seen it. I feel like most of these live action Disney ones are just retelling of the animated ones. So I don't know if the Tom Hanks one would be the same, if they just told the story over again.
Yeah, I don't know if any of them start with Geppetto's kid dying. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah,
I thought Geppetto just like making puppets.
Yeah. Also, Geppetto's like 1,000 years old too. God, he's old.
Yeah, he's got some. He's like Dumbledore or Gandalf. That guy just keeps on going.
That's right.
Geppetto the Gray, I guess. I don't know. Thou shalt not pass. Like I don't know what you would do for Pinocchio. Misbehave. Well, I don't know what Pinocchio.
So
he's also very upset and temperamental in this movie.
He's very grumpy.
Yes.
Specifically at that part where where he calls him a burden.
I just thought I was thinking he's grumpy and he's Geppetto, so Grumpy Pedo came to mind, but that's probably not a good idea to call him that.
Grumpetto?
I don't know. You can separate it. However you want to do it. But that was what I watched.
Yeah, so what do you think about stuff in the public domain then? What do you think about the Winnie the Pooh thing? I think there's a Grinch thing also.
There's a Grinch horror movie coming, yeah.
Pinocchio, and I'm crazy surprised that Disney let Pinocchio go. Like, what do you understand public domain stuff? Can you explain it a little bit? After a certain amount of years, if you don't buy it, it just goes.
Well, I was under the impression you can't buy it.
Oh, so once you let it lapse, or you have to do it beforehand?
Well, I was under the impression things are created and they can only be owned for a certain amount of time. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Or maybe someone has to buy the rights. Because I don't understand either how they wouldn't have bought Pinocchio back, especially because they made the movie.
Yeah.
Or they wouldn't have, Winnie the Pooh. I don't know how that works, but I don't think you have a choice. I think once it's done, it's done. So
that would be interesting, because that would mean that everything ever is a public domain then.
Eventually, everything will be in public domain. Yeah, like I saw something that was saying Superman will eventually be in public domain.
That's what I was just going to ask
Superman, you. Batman, Dracula is public domain now, as of I think a few years ago, maybe even this year. I don't remember. But I don't mind it. I think that it's cool because it allows other people to make stories with characters. Sure, you're going to get stuff you don't like or you don't want to see. Like, realistically, I don't know how many people are just kind of clamoring to see Winnie the Pooh eat people, other than me.
Yes.
I'm also a giant Winnie the Pooh fan. Small fact. I love Winnie the Pooh. So I think it's going to be fun to see him do something else, I guess. But that's kind of the thing about it. I like the public domain thing. I think it's interesting. Mm-hmm. It opens the doors.
I agree.
Copyright expires as like a gift to the public. Okay, yeah, I go for that.
That's such a scary thought. That everything could be someone else's toolbox, or someone else can use anything like a sandbox. That's scary.
Wait till we see the Mickey Mouse Fast and Furious crossover.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking. Like, there's no way. We can see a horror. Horror Mickey Mouse. Come on now.
That one's easy. We've all seen Willard, I think.
Yeah.
That one's easy. Or even you even just make like a town of Mickey, like Mickey Mouse lives in a town and he goes nuts or something. I don't know.
I guess.
Yes, I did mention 8-Bit Christmas the other night. It's pretty high on my Christmas movie list. I like it. I'm glad you liked it too. It's like a Christmas story but modern, or modern-ish because it's in the 80s. So Winnie the Pooh is 2 years older than Mickey Mouse. Disney loses Mickey. I oh okay.
The next one.
Valley Rock says the original Mickey Mouse cartoon Steamboat Willie is due to fall into public domain in 2024 unless Disney is able to change the laws again. So does that mean Mickey becomes public domain, or just the story of Steamboat Willie?
Steamboat Willie, yeah. That's what I don't know about all of this stuff is like who owns what and how long you own it for and what aspects of that character do you own. I don't know.
I'm just waiting for Mickey and Fast and Furious.
Yeah, that's right.
It's all about family, Dom. I think it'll be a good time.
So that's Pinocchio. I do recommend everyone should check it out, though. It's a certain, I don't know, the craft of it as well. I think is important. How it's made and that kind of thing.
Okay, so that Mickey would be public domain. Okay. So Superman's public domain less than 10 years. Crazy. Yeah, something like that. Unless something happens or changes in between them.
Mm-hmm.
You can do whatever you want. But really, I mean, you have like those, like, you know, there's the Asian Spider-Man with the mechs and stuff.
Yeah.
There's the Bollywood Superman. There are other versions. I don't know how they get around the copyrights, but these things exist. There's there's an action figure of the Asian Spider-Man now. It's wild.
So that's Pinocchio. Did you watch anything else this week?
No, I meant to watch a lot of Christmas stuff, but I didn't. I instead got sad watching Pinocchio, and then I watched Deadpool.
I watched the Black Phone a couple nights ago. Highly recommend you watch that, Chris. I think you will dig it a lot. I was worried going into it about. I know there was a kid who gets or kids get kidnapped. That kind of stuff. I wouldn't say bothers me now, but it affects me a certain way. Having kids, seeing that stuff on screen affected me a little bit. And there's certain scenes in this about it. Chris, I know you like kid on kid violence.
I don't like kid on kid violence.
Within the first, I made a joke, or I asked Cookie. Cookie recommended that I watch Black Phone. Then I asked her about it, and I asked her if do you think it's really bad with if there's kid violence or torture or anything? And she said it wasn't that bad. And she acknowledged Dr. Sleep. You remember watching?
I love Dr. Sleep.
Jacob Tremblay's character, the little boy. Yeah. In the baseball uniform, which is very, very hard to watch. And she said it's nothing like that. And then within the first 10 minutes, there's kids beating up kids and there's blood everywhere. So it didn't affect me, but I just thought it was funny that when somebody tells you not to worry about something and then that thing happens, you're like, oh man.
Well, you know, everybody has their own degree of.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what it is. And I was worried that the stuff in the movie was, yeah, right. You never do that, not at all. I was worried that there were going to be stuff in this movie that would affect me, that it was going to be too much, but it wasn't. It's done very well. The twists are very good, and I don't know, I guess supernatural or the out of body experiences that are happening. In this movie, I think I really enjoyed. It's not just a standard kid gets captured and he kids breaks free from his captor. I highly recommend it. Ethan Hawke is creepy as heck, man. Like very creepy. Like
I think he's creepy naturally. Maybe that's just me.
And that's the thing. He, aside from a couple masks that he wears, he's just straight up Ethan Hawke.
I think Ethan Hawke is a creepy man.
Yeah, I think he's got his hair from Moon Knight. Where he's got that long hair, and he looks just as pale as he did in Moon Knight too. It's good. I highly recommend Black Phone, Chris. I think you would like it a lot. So I think you should actually put it on your list, put it at the top of your list, and give it a watch.
I don't know where the top is anymore.
Yeah,
it's around somewhere.
Yeah, I get that. I was gonna watch that or Pearl. Did you watch Pearl yet?
I haven't got to yet, but that is actually toward the top because I do want to see Pearl.
Yeah, so
I want to watch it before Maxine comes out.
That's the what? I don't know what that is.
Maxine is the third one.
Oh,
so it's X Pearl. I believe it's Mia Goth.
Oh, her again? Jeez.
Yeah. So I want to watch I want to make sure and watch Pearl before Maxine, so I could catch Maxine in the theater.
In the theater.
Yes, maybe in the theater. We'll see.
So I think that's. Oh yeah, and Doom Patrol, Chris. I know you haven't watched Doom Patrol, but the first 2 episodes dropped. I don't know what day that was. Wednesday,
I
maybe.
think it was Wednesday or Thursday.
Very.
Was Pearl streaming when you wanted to watch it?
No, it's not
okay.
anywhere. You have to buy it or watch it somewhere else. Yeah, Doom Patrol. Big fan of Doom Patrol. First 2 episodes dropped. It's just as weird and stupid and crazy as it always has been. And I'm expecting, much like Titans, this to be the last season. So I hope there's a nice kind of a cool send off for these characters. Gab, see you later. Have a good week. There's something about these like HBO Max superhero shows, these 2 in particular, just seems like such a failed something or other. I don't know. Like nobody's talking about them. They're not on. They're not in the. I don't know. There's something about these shows. I wish they were talked about more, specifically in the Doom Patrol aspect. I remember when Zeddy and I were talking about season 3. It felt like we were doing. I think we did we did a podcast for V39. It just felt like we were the only ones talking about it. And then when I listen to V39, it feels like they're the only ones talking about Titans.
Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of people talk Titans.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's the quality. I don't know if it's the marketing. Like HBO Max is obviously going through some big changes with DC, obviously. So I'm wondering if they're just waiting for these shows to slowly die off so they can start anew.
I think they just have niche audiences. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, I would agree with that with Doom Patrol specifically. Like the big bad so far, the first 2 episodes are zombified butts with legs.
Wow.
Exactly. It's niche as niche can get.
Okay, well that's something. I've tried to watch. I just can't get into it for whatever reason.
Yeah, that's fine. And I agree. It's not for everyone. They go to fight a bad guy who's breaking into a bank. His name's Codpiece, and he's wearing like a weird chastity belt with a certain big member stuck to it.
I think I saw screenshots of that. I didn't know that was real.
Yeah, it shoots like lasers out of it.
I thought that was a joke.
Yeah, no, it's straight up. His name's Codpiece. Yeah, so
it's weird. Zeddy says it's weird because something like Peacemaker trended, but that was because it was Gunn and Cena at the helm. Or was the show really that good? So I think Peacemaker is an interesting case because I don't know if people outside of comic book fans really watched it a lot. I know that like the songs hit the like trending lists and stuff, but I don't know how much the show is actually watched. But hypothetically, I believe it was John Cena that was actually selling that show.
Yeah,
I think Cena was the selling point for people, especially if they did watch the Suicide Squad and they wanted to see more of Peacemaker, which I think most people did.
Well, and I don't know how big the show was before the show aired. Like, were people looking forward to it? I don't know. It wasn't until it started airing that the song became a huge hit. And like, oh, have you seen like Peacemaker? It blew up after it was shown because I think, if I remember correctly, the trailers weren't that good either. They didn't sell the show on it, so it wasn't until the show came out where it actually caught fire.
I think so too. It kind of reminds me of the way the Wednesday dance is making people go back to watch Wednesday.
Yeah, that's right.
I think it's maybe a similar thing, but Cena, I believe, was the reason that Peacemaker got whatever attention it got. Not so much Gunn, but definitely Cena. And I think the show was that good. It was very entertaining.
It was very good. I agree. I think Peacemaker season 1. Oh, I'd have to go back and think about the Doom Patrol seasons, but I think it's an overall better show than Doom Patrol. But it's interesting, Zeddy. I agree that they're both quirkiness and there's both swearing and violence and that kind of thing. But I don't know. I think the John Cena character for sure, because there's no selling big name actor on Doom Patrol where you say, "Oh, I need to watch that because of that person." Like even Brendan Fraser, if you saw him, you see him a couple of times as the human version of Robot Man, but it's mostly just his voice.
I like Matt Bomer.
Yeah, he's great too, and you never see him. You see him maybe once or twice a whole season when he's not wearing his negative man garb. Okay, so that's what we watched and what we read this week. If we didn't have anything else to talk about, we'd be at exactly 1 hour. But because it's in the name, we're going to talk about this kind of briefly. Chris, Video Game Awards were just this past Thursday. We said it, you and Zeddy and I, we watched it together. And if I wanted to watch it because of last year's Game Awards, because of the announcements and the trailers that were shown at the Game Awards. And that's basically what the Game Awards are. There's maybe 10 awards given out through the entire show, maybe. And they're not really the most high profile video or awards either. So it's more about the announcements, the trailers. This is kind of a question for at the end, Chris, but the idea of the presentation of the show, what the show is used for and how it can be used for other things that we've been kind of talking about as well, Chris. So there was a couple cool things that we had noticed from the Game Awards. One was the Forspoken demo, which you downloaded as we were talking. Did you get a chance to play that yet?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, how was that?
Can't stand it.
Whoa! Oh no! Oh no!
I don't like it. I'm glad they put the demo out because that was like a day one purchase for me. Now it's maybe if I see it for $20 or less.
Oh no!
Yeah, I was so disappointed the other night when I booted it up. I was like, I've talked about it, Forspoken. It was one of the reasons I wanted a PlayStation 5. Like I was gonna get one anyway because I like PlayStation consoles, but I was like, okay, I need to get it in time for Forspoken, Wolverine, and Spider-Man, which ironically none of them have come out yet. But yeah, I played the demo, was not into it, and that's it.
Oh man, that's too bad.
Yeah, it's okay, it happens.
Do you think that's why they released the demo? Do you feel like they're going to look for feedback now? Like obviously they do that with betas.
It comes out next month.
Too late then.
I think they thought they're like, we're going to finally give you guys this amazing thing and you're going to love it.
Right.
And then you boot it up like, wait a minute. It also looks like a PS3 game. It's not pretty.
God darn it.
Yeah, that's okay.
One of the other big things was that game that had every B movie character in the world in it.
Crime Boss.
Michael Matt. What's it called?
Crime Boss.
Crime Boss, real good. Michael Madsen, Chuck Norris, Danny Trejo is
Kim Basinger.
Kim Basinger for
Vanilla Ice.
Vanilla Ice. I don't know what this game is. I that's the other thing with most of the trailers that we're seeing at these things are more or less cinematics. It doesn't give you any kind of sense of what the game is actually about. So it's kind of a give or take where you go and look for these announcements and these trailers, and the ones that you do get, you still don't know what the game is. What's the game that had Giancarlo Esposito in it at the end of it? He's smoking a cigar. It was at the end of the trailer. It's one of those games with the guy who's got the son of a bitch.
Far Cry?
Yeah, Far Cry. Is that it? Is that the one he was in? Is it like that? Is that what this game is? Do you know anything about this game? Or you just know?
I know there's nothing about it. I mean, there was some gameplay footage in the trailer, but it wasn't enough to go on. I think it's just a first-person shooter.
It was just so strange seeing all those names.
It was, but instant interest though, like instantly. Plus, there was a guy with a cool Irish accent that introduced it. That was fun.
That cool. The guy. Oh yeah. Michael Madsen came out with two guys, and there was a gentleman beside him doing an Irish accent, and we all say it sounded fake. It was just there was just something about it.
It's cool.
And yeah, Zeddy just put this in the comments. And the other thing I want to mention was about the Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League. They showed a cinematic. I assume it's from the movie, but I don't know that for sure. With more or less the Suicide Squad arguing, and then Batman shows up, and he's got the blue eyes. I think it is. Yeah, the Brainiac eyes with what Superman had in the first trailer that they showed. And then we heard Kevin Conroy's voice, and they announced that afterwards that this is, I think they announced that this was the last thing that he had voiced.
Yep.
So that was a really cool thing to hear. So maybe just your thoughts about hearing Kevin Conroy one more time, Chris, and then after that kind of trailer ended, how again we not overly excited about the Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League King, because we're looking for gameplay. We want more gameplay. We want to know how the game is going to play, how it's going to look. We don't just need another cinematic trailer to show us a cutscene, more or less.
Conroy is cool. It's very confusing to me because this is apparently the Arkham universe from the previous games. If you've played Arkham Knight, this is very strange to see. I don't understand how this works.
Right.
But cool. It's cool hearing Conroy. That suit is really nice. It looks like the Telltale Batman suit, which I'm a big fan of. And even pieces of the Telltale Batman suit made it on screen with the Pattinson Batman. So,
nice.
Yeah, cool to see that. But yeah, I've seen gameplay of this, and I think that's what we needed, not just a cinematic trailer. Also, I don't know how I feel about Batman being evil.
We talked about that. Oh, look, another evil Batman. Oh, look, another evil Superman.
Right, and it's especially questionable considering Conroy is no longer with us.
Sure.
So it's guaranteed you will fight. I'm pretty sure it's guaranteed you are going to fight bad Batman.
Yep.
And I don't know how that's going to work. I don't know. Also, it's odd to me. They are releasing 2 DC Comics games with Batman where you cannot play as Batman. I think that's not fun.
Not ideal.
Not ideal. This is not good. I don't know.
Hashtag this is not good.
Right. But I'll give it a shot. I think, but it is cool that Conroy is going to be back one last time.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know about you. Did you think that the clip of him speaking was from the animated series? Because it sounded identical.
They stole it from that?
Well, stole it either way.
I get it. Yeah, like you mean like his voice sounded younger?
No, like they took the actual clip of him saying it and put it in the trailer.
I didn't notice that. No, I didn't.
That's what it sounded like to me. They took the actual clip and just put it in there.
That would be funny.
I don't know.
It's not actually his last thing. It's just.
Well, no, I'm sure the rest of it is. I'm sure James Gunn doesn't mind the title of the game. Probably not. Yeah. Especially that may be the next Justice League movie. We'll see.
Exactly. Who knows, right? So yeah, I was very excited for the Game Awards because of the announcement that happened last year, because of the trailers. And by the end of the show, before the Game of the Year was announced, I'm like, there was nothing here that got me really excited about a game that I am going to play. Mm-hmm. Like at the start, at the pre-show, they showed a Hellboy trailer with the art style the same as the Mike Mignola.
Cool.
It looks very good, but it's just something about this year lacked a punch, more or less. Mm-hmm. There was no Wolverine trailer. There was no announcement of a Wonder Woman game. I think we were all hoping for Spider-Man 2 something or other.
Yeah.
And maybe something different for Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League. I don't know. Something about the this year's just didn't do it for me. But I'm seeing the exact opposite online. I'm seeing a lot of people like the show. So maybe it's just me and I may be expecting a little bit too much. And also the show was 2.5 hours long. I was only expecting 2 hours or even under. I was expecting the show to start at 7:30, but when I started to watch at 7:30, it was just the pre-show. So it actually didn't start until 8 o'clock. So overall, I think I was watching for over 3 hours. It's just, it does not need to be that long. When all it is, like I said, there's maybe 10 awards given out. And it's just trailers and cinematics. So I'll give it a try again next year. But the idea of what this show is, Chris, where it's called the Game Awards, but people are watching. We were watching because of the announcements and the trailers and everything. And we've been talking about the DC universe and how, whenever they figure out what they're doing, how they're going to announce it all to us. Like, how do you think about the presentation of the Game Awards and just the idea of what they're selling? Like, it's also weird to me that like there's games for PC, PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, and it's just an overall game awards. It's not owned by anybody. Like this Jeff Keighley guy, he just started it because he wanted to.
I think that's cool, though.
Well, exactly. Talk more about how like the guy created it. He hosts it. He does everything for it. But like it's just views on YouTube, basically. Like I'm not. It's interesting thing that way. So, what do you think about just the overall presentation, the idea of the Game Awards?
Well, I think after this particular award show, it's not made for you and I. I think that the Game Awards are for the fans who follow the creators and stuff. Because I know you and I have talked about this before, but we don't really know the creators of these games. We don't pay attention to it. I can name you a couple game developers like Hideo Kojima or Cliff Belinsky, who did the Gears of War games. You know, I can name a couple of them. But like when they were bringing people on stage, I had no idea who any of them were.
Yeah.
I didn't even know who the God of War voice actor was.
Yeah, that's right.
So, I mean, as far as voice actors go, I know Nolan North because he does the Uncharted games, but that's it.
Sure.
So, and Troy Baker, of course.
Yes.
I guess I do know a few now that I think about it, but still, you know, I think that's who this shows. It's kind of like if you don't really watch movies and then you watch the Oscars.
Right.
Who is Meryl Streep?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think it's the same kind of thing. You have to be into it a certain way to enjoy these award shows.
I agree, and you know, and like I said, 3 hours long. I'm very much going to just wait for the trailers to come online. You know, I was more or less looking for just kind of something to do, hang out with some friends and watch it, which was also a cool thing to do. Also, streaming things and talking to your friends while you watch something, it adds at a certain level.
I wouldn't have finished it if we weren't doing that.
Yeah, I know, and you know, Zeddy said he would come on for 45 minutes. He stayed for the whole thing, and the news about the Batman Beyond thing with Michael Keaton announced at the same time.
Live.
And watching Zeddy react to it, who's a huge Batman Beyond fan, obviously, was kind of fun. You know, talking him off the ledge, or trying to push him over the ledge, was fun both ways. So that was a cool aspect to it as well. But I think, yeah, just waiting for those trailers to come online will very much get to it. Kind of. We're still talking. I wanted to hear more. I wanted to see more of Hogwarts Legacy.
Yeah. Yeah, that too. Yeah. But I think that I would have felt better personally if we got gameplay trailers. We just didn't get enough of those. But there was some cool stuff. Like the Jedi Survivor trailer was fantastic. But that's a game I didn't need a trailer for, you know?
Sure.
But still, it looked fantastic. I'm kind of sold on that Final Fantasy game, even though I've never played a Final Fantasy game. I'm
hoping they give you a demo for that one too, just so you can.
Yeah, it'd be better if they did. But that one, the Transformers game trailer was interesting because we didn't know it was Transformers. You forgot. What? There was a Transformers game announcement.
No, there wasn't.
There was. I forgot what it's called.
Oh man.
There was a Transformers game. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, there was a couple of cool things, but none of it was really memorable. Clearly,
the one thing I do remember from it is the clip from the Mario movie that they showed.
Oh, that was fun. I did like it.
So good. That movie is going to be so much fun. I can't wait.
I still ask the question: where was that movie when I was 7?
Yeah, that's right.
I'm stealing Jennifer Holland away from James Gunn for that. You can try.
Let me know how it works there for you.
She's about to be recast as Wonder Woman, Amanda Waller, Batgirl, basically every female in the DC universe.
Yeah.
Jessica Cruz.
That's it.
That'd be my guess. Jedi Survivor looks so good. The first one was great, but this new one looks like there's more variety of gameplay. Yes, looks like there's more variety, and you get a blaster with Cal now. Cal didn't shoot in the first one. We didn't see him shoot in this trailer, but we did see that other guy pop in for a second. So I'm wondering if you have a buddy.
Yeah, what did he call him that?
I
can't remember. He kind of does like a Spider-Man flip where he jumps on his back and he flips over. I'm like, oh, it's not going to be 2-player game, is it?
That's what I was wondering. But then if you think about like, who's really going to say, oh, I don't want to be the lightsaber guy. Just give me the guy with the gun.
The blaster guy.
Yeah, I don't know how you're going to balance that. Just give me the guy with the gun. That's cool. Yeah. Never mind that lightsaber.
Yeah, but it's the cool scene where the Cal picks up the stormtrooper, turns him around, and makes him shoot the gun.
That was cool.
And the other thing where they freeze time with the blaster in the air, like Kylo Ren said, and he moved up to it and grabbed a guy and moved him into the blaster's way. Really, really fun stuff. I just hope they fix the map.
Yeah.
I hope they fix the map in that game because it looks very good.
The map and no more backtracking.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't look like you see some of your friends. You see the Jedi woman who used to be a Jedi, but she's not anymore. Now she looks like she's a Jedi again. But you don't see the other guy, Grease. You're still.
I miss him.
I
hope he's back.
He's still riding around in his ship. and he crashes ship, but you don't see him. So I wonder about if your friends are all still back, and how the story progresses. Because it was a very, very good game. I love playing it.
It'll probably be like Last of Us or Uncharted, with a second character supporting you, not a playable character.
Yeah,
Uh,
that could
yeah, that could be it, but I'm still confused why we get the blaster
be.
and why they wouldn't have showed the blaster off. That's kind of my thing with it.
Mm-hmm. I like seeing his lightsaber at the end of it. It's got kind of
The
like
cross saber.
the T at the
Yeah.
yeah. Me and my son watched and he's like, "Oh, Kylo Ren." I'm like, it's not Kylo Ren, but same kind of deal.
Yeah, same kind of thing.
With the T saber. So, it looks good. And that's not too far away. March or May, I think we said when we looked
March
at it.
16th, I believe.
Yeah, that's good. And I think that was a PS5 only too.
Yes, I believe it.
Next gen only, which that was kind of the other thing we were looking for is kind of the second phase of PlayStation 5 games, where there's going to be just PlayStation 5 games, and they're hopefully going to look like PlayStation 5 games and play like PlayStation 5 games. So
Forspoken does not.
that's what's kind of upsetting as well. They announced some other things, that Cyberpunk kind of expansion.
That looks cool. If here's Cyberpunk.
Yep.
Could that be Star Killer in the tank? Do the timelines match for that? I guess they would, wouldn't they?
I don't remember what's that one called?
Force Unleashed. That would make sense.
Yeah,
I think the timelines could match.
Hmm.
That'd be really neat if that's who that is. I'd be in for that, yeah. I don't know if the timelines match. I think they do.
Is it this game? I never played those. What'd you say? Unleashed? Is that what it's called?
Force Unleashed, yeah.
Force Unleashed. Is this just like a better version of that? I never played those games.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Not the story wise, but the gameplay.
Yeah, the gameplay. It kind of is, yeah. Well, because Force Unleashed really just focused on force powers, not so much lightsaber combat. This does both.
Okay.
So yes. And same kind of thing. You end up in duels with certain characters. Yeah, I guess it is similar. I didn't think about that.
Because I just remember when the first one was coming out, I was excited for it, and I don't think it got the best reviews.
It didn't.
And then when this one was coming, I'm like, oh, this looks like there's the lightsaber, and there's like finally a real Star Wars game where you can slash people and use your force powers. Like, oh, that's exactly what it was. Man, I still have fun.
Spectacular fashion.
Yes, spectacular fashion. Yeah, so that's our thoughts. Kind of, there's, like I said, it was funny seeing Al Pacino at the Game Awards giving out the best voice actor. He seemed drunk, and he said, "I don't know what I'm doing here," and it was great, and people loved it. But the most important thing that came out of the Game Awards, the best thing anyone could ever ask for, Chris, flute guy.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were talking about the kid at the end, but yes, flute guy.
I was going to talk to you about that too, where we didn't know who that kid was, and it turned out he wasn't supposed to be there.
No, he just jumped on stage and nobody said anything to him. Even the guys accepting the award. That's why we didn't know who he was. Oh, he's the kid. He's one of the kids.
Yeah.
No random
no
kid.
security at these places.
But yeah, flute guy wins the night.
Mm-hmm.
Flute guy's on. Hashtag flute guy. I think that's how you find it.
Yeah, hashtag flute guy. He had the energy of 1,000 suns.
It was great.
He was everywhere. All right, guys, that's it for a quick little chat about the Game Awards and what we read or what we watched this week. We had a kind of a cool poll up, or not a poll, but we wanted to know your thoughts about the Superman movie, 44 years, Chris. And we had some really nice comments from people as well. So I wanted to thank everybody for commenting and sharing some stories about their thoughts about Superman, the movie, which was very cool.
It was. I like reading those.
Mm-hmm. Chris, anything else you want to talk about before we get on out of here?
No, I'm good.
Cool, man. Hit us up with some plugs then.
You guys can follow me on Twitter at thatchris70, but as always, I prefer you guys follow the show at G of the Geeks. Emmet is much better with the rest of the plugs, so he'll get to that.
You can follow me on Twitter at EmmettDavis7. Gathering of the Geeks is available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Gathering of the Geeks, and you will find us. I want to say thanks to Ian, Eric, Grabs, DC Patrol, Lauren, Cookie, Zeddy, Travis,
Chris from Lost in Comics.
Chris from Lost to Comics, Bolly Rock as well. I think that's everybody. If I didn't get to everybody, I apologize. But thanks for checking us out. We've got one more show for this year coming at you next week, and then we'll be taking a little bit of a break after that. So we'll be talking to you again next week. We'll have some cool things to announce coming up soon too. Again, we are doing our top 5 movies, top 5 TV shows, top 5 comics. We will be doing that in our first show back in January. So if you want to hit us up with some of your lists, Cookie, you already hit us up with yours. Thank you for that. It gives me a little bit more time to try and read as many things as I possibly can before our show. So in saying all that, for Chris and I'm Emmet, and we gather on Sundays.
Be curious, not judgmental.